Today from the Wise News Network studios, it's Who Gives a Hoot number 9. I'm Rusty Wise,
I'm Mason Beam.
And I'm Grace Smith.
and we're going to talk about a lot of events, interviews, stories that we've done in the past couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We've been busy, that's for sure.
Been a lot going on, a story or two a day pretty much.
Yes,
Mhm.
it has been like
Yeah.
that.
So we appreciate everyone watching. We appreciate all the tips you've given us. Keep those tips coming in for our Cherryville column that Grace does, and just keep the tips coming in. And we really appreciate you guys engaging with us more. It seems like it's getting more and more each week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a lot more tips, and they really do help us out a lot because we want to report news that y'all want to see, not just news that we think is impactful. So keep giving us suggestions. We really appreciate it.
Well, let's start it off with the Roman dogs, cats, all that good stuff. We did a story about that, and also Bentley the dog.
Yes.
That Bentley was recent, but the roaming dogs story that we did was just after our last Who Gives a Hoot. And unfortunately, here in the Cherryville community, we experienced a local who lost her beloved pet. And it wasn't necessarily a roaming dog situation. However, we do see a lot of roaming dogs in the area, especially Gaston County. And so we wanted to make a story about roaming dogs just to give pet owners ideas about how they can keep their pets safe while giving them the exercise that they need. Because I feel like a lot of times people will let their dogs out with very good intentions of just letting their dogs go out to run, not knowing that there are a lot of dangers. Like your dog could be picked up by a stranger, could get hit by a car, and there's only one animal shelter in all of Gaston County. So roaming dogs that have belonged to somebody, but maybe weren't microchipped, weren't wearing collars, they will get picked up by the animal shelter, and it's like they're a stray at that point. And so they either get adopted, fostered out, or if the shelters are too full, unfortunately, they have to make some really tough decisions about sometimes euthanasia.
And like Grace was saying, that's one reason why microchipping is so important, because the shelters obviously can detect it if you have your animal microchipped. So if your dog or cat does happen to get out and ends up at a shelter, then having them microchipped is going to return them to you as soon as they're able to contact you. Now, on the other side of the pet coin, you have cats.
Mhm.
And I know plenty of people let their cats go outside and stuff, and cats tend to stick around their home. But we also have some problems in Cherryville, as some of you may know, with cats being released certain places around town, and there kind of being a large population of them. The reason those populations stay, as we were told when we were visiting the Gaston County Animal Shelter, is because animal control cannot pick the cats up.
In Gaston County.
Yes, in Gaston County. So the only cats that end up in the animal shelter are ones that are surrendered. So whenever you do let a cat out somewhere random, try and offload it or get rid of it, you're not gonna get it at home like that. It's just gonna be in wherever you release it at, because they can't come get it.
And if it's not fixed, then it will reproduce, and cats reproduce like rabbits.
Mm-hmm. That they
Yeah.
do. I have
They
plenty of personal experience.
he used to have 14 cats. So,
Wow. I'm surprised how many dogs and cats do not have collars, or if they have a collar, they do not have a tag.
mhm.
I think, every animal should have a tag with the name and address or something on there to identify the owner.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's really, really devastating as well because we also interviewed Paula Hayes with AWAR for this story. And she said that the United States government taxpayer dollars from like US residents pay up to like $2 billion trying to sorry, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but taxpayer like 2 billion of American taxpayers dollars go towards the roaming dog and stray dog issue in America. Like, this is not just a problem that Gaston County is experiencing, this is a national issue,
Mhm.
and it's expensive, and it's a really easy way to kind of help this issue is by microchipping your dogs, giving them collars, or just taking them out, on a leash.
And then kind of to combine those 2 points, the microchipping and the collars, if you're finding that maybe microchipping's a little bit too expensive for you, but you're tech savvy, one thing that's become very popular is you'll make a custom, ornament or what's the word I'm looking for?
Like a tag?
You talking
Yeah.
about the air tags or what?
Well, instead of using an air tag, you can get an RFID sticker and cast it inside of a custom tag. And then anyone can just hold their phone up to the pet's collar and it'll give them the information stored on the RFID chip. So you can put the phone number, the name of the animal, your name, the address that belongs at, all sorts of other stuff without having to go the expense of a microchip. Now, is a microchip better? Yes, an animal can't get rid of that. A dog or cat can break out of their collar. But if you're worried about costs, then an RFID chip is about 30 cents.
You can
So,
also look into your area. Your local animal shelters might do events where they microchip for free or where they spay and neuter for either very low cost or for free. I know that Paula was talking to me about how AWAR wants to start doing microchipping events where they have people bring their dogs or cats to them and they provide microchips. When we did the original AWAR story and we went to Heart of the Foothills, we saw how easy it is to microchip
mhm,
an animal. It's one injection and then your pet is microchipped for life.
When are they gonna start microchipping humans?
they already have.
Yeah. I heard that Neuralink just had its first, like, successful
Mhm.
human trial. Sorry, y'all. My brain is all over the place today.
Microchip humans. It's coming. It's a matter
Mhm.
of time.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Bentley the dog, I don't wanna jump gears too quick, but that Bentley the dog with the vultures around it was just craziness. I've never seen that. Now, other people may see vultures. I see them on the side of the road if something's
Mhm.
dead, but do you guess the vultures knew that that dog was in trouble?
They did. I'm going to assume the wounds he had on his neck were probably starting to become necrotic, which is probably what attracted them. They could smell him. That's for sure. They thought he was heading that way.
For those of you who might not have read our story, about the situation, a couple of days ago, this past weekend, February 17th, uh, uh, the Gaston County Animal Care and Enforcement Shelter, which is the shelter we were just speaking about, they received calls about a dog who neighbors suspected was in a alleged neglectful or potentially abusive situation because the dog was left outside pretty much all hours of the day without adequate shelter, had several wounds in his neck, and just flocks of vultures surrounding it. And some neighbors and citizens in the area reported it to animal control. They were able to rescue the dog and get it the medical care that it needs, and the dog Bentley is now staying with a certified foster who is aware of their medical conditions and what they will need to make sure they get nursed back to health. And an arrest was made in the situation as well. The owner of the dog has been charged with 2 misdemeanor animal neglect charges. Um, so it was just a really, really sad situation to see kind of unfolding, but I'm glad that Bentley was able to be rescued and put
Yes.
into a better environment.
And I think what brought that to light was the pictures and video
Yeah.
that the public took, that one lady took of that, and then the media got involved, and that's where a picture is worth 1,000 words, and without
Mhm.
that evidence, it may not have went the way it went.
I don't think it would have because if you read through the comments on all the posts that happened about Bentley, there were lots of people complaining that this was a known issue. It wasn't until it started getting media coverage that something actually got done.
Yeah. I'm glad. I think the dog's in good hands, and hopefully the owner takes care of it,
Mhm.
and maybe this is a learning lesson, so we'll see how all that plays out. But if you ever see any animal neglect, just report it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take pictures too, it could help. Like Rusty said, a picture's worth 1,000 words, so it could really save an animal's life.
While we're in Gastonia, we'll talk about the new Gastonia baseball team.
Gastonia Baseball Club.
Is it the baseball club?
It's the
Mhm.
baseball club.
But they're having a contest, I guess, to name the team, or they're
Mhm.
wanting to
Yes.
name the team. And the Zoller Group purchased the rights to a team, I guess it is.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. So we attended a press conference a couple of weeks ago about the new Gastonia baseball team. As y'all might know, we covered a couple of months ago a story about the former baseball team for the Caramont Health Park, the Honey Hunters. There was a situation regarding the former team's owners and the city of Gastonia. A legal battle kind of transpired, and the honey hunters are no longer going to be playing in Caramont Health Park. However, like Rusty said, Zoyer Sports did buy the I guess the rights to a new Atlantic baseball team.
I'm confused on that too.
They're going to fund a new team or
Yes.
field a new team
Yeah.
through the Atlantic League. And I guess the Zoller Group's going to run it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Kind of like what was the Gas House gang?
NC Gas House Gang.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That was the owners of the honey hunters. And yeah, they're having a contest that is going to let the community name it. And what I think was really good about that press conference is the president of Zoyer, he made a point to say that they're going to make everybody whole who might have lost money in the situation. One of the allegations against the owners of the honey hunters is that they weren't paying players or employees. A few times they had instances where paychecks weren't coming through on time, even paychecks towards businesses or vendors that were helping and participating in baseball games, those didn't go through, and so the president of Zoyer made sure to talk about making everyone whole. He said every cent that they're owned is going to be returned and everyone is gonna be reimbursed.
Just to make that extra clear, that's not Zoller's responsibility. That's just something they're taking on.
Yeah.
I think they'll have to do other events other than baseball. I know baseball is big in this area, but they'll have to maybe do concerts,
Mm-hmm.
lease it out to other organizations to have events there because it's a super nice facility. But just to have the facility just for baseball, it probably won't work just for baseball. It needs to have other events there.
They mentioned that too. I don't think they didn't mention it in the press conference, but other news organizations that were covering the story, I saw that they were talking about how they're opening up the Caramont Health Park facility to at least 200 events outside of baseball a year. And I think that that was always the plan, but with how, I guess, contentious and up in the air the park was during NC Gas House Gang, like while the honey hunters were there, I'm not sure if they were really able to have other events because one of the allegations against NC Gas House Gang is that they weren't keeping up the facilities very well, allegedly. Um, so maybe that had something to do with why they weren't able to at that time. But I know that they are planning on putting more events and stuff out there.
Yeah, let's have a Taylor Swift concert there.
I
Reckon that would bring some people?
I'd be
Yeah.
there. Sign me up.
Yeah, they'd have to have 10 concerts there. As many people that want to see her, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, and while we're still in Gastonia, we had Gaston County Community Support Services that basically had kind of like a ribbon cutting or
Yes.
announcement. So you guys went to that, and they kind of helped the homeless and a variety of people.
They actually have quite a few programs going on. If you look on their webpage, they have about 10 different focus groups that they're helping at the moment through those programs, whether it be homeless, just people who are down their luck, veterans. I think there's one for people who are in poor health as well.
Yeah, yeah.
The ribbon cutting was for their new location, if I'm
Mhm.
correct, right, Grace?
Yeah, so, it's a relatively new organization, and it is through the county and the city of Gastonia, but it's relatively new. They've been around, I believe, since the beginning of last year, and they've been in this location since November, but they just recently finished renovating and organizing everything that would go into having an office space. So they decided to throw a ribbon cutting, also just kind of announcing that they're there and willing to help. And it was really nice. We had interviewed them before going to the ribbon cutting as well about the cold weather shelter that has helped so many people. And
Over 400.
yeah, over 400, and it's really I think it's a really nice thing to see in a time where mutual aid is more important than ever, that counties and cities are actually putting together resources to help people in need.
Yeah, like the homeless, it's not just a city per city issue, it's a regional issue.
Mhm.
You know, what affects Gastonia affects Cherryville, affects Lincoln, Shelby, the whole area and the whole western part of North Carolina.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And a whole lot more homeless now that I've seen that I've seen in my whole life really in this
Yeah.
area. So hopefully this organization can help with that and then go back to the root of the problem, you know, do we need more affordable housing? Do we need more substance abuse programs? Do we need more mental health programs? You know, so there's a reason why we have more homeless is you got to get to the root of the problem. Why? You know, I always ask the question, why do we have all this homeless?
Yeah, it goes
And
back
go ahead, Grace.
I was gonna say, not to go back to the animal welfare situation, but one thing that we've discussed a few times is that these are symptoms of larger issues. Homelessness is a symptom of a larger issue. Animals being mistreated or allegedly neglected, like that is a symptom of a larger issue. And so it's time to take these issues that we keep seeing repeatedly, look inward and try to find that solution because as much as like programs help, it's kind of putting a band-aid on a bullet hole if you don't know the root cause and how to help the root cause.
And it's up to the citizens to take care of themselves. I mean, if your neighbor is acting weird
Mhm.
or doing something crazy, report it. You know, I know we don't want to get neighbors in trouble, but a lot of times people just stay quiet about things. And you hear these serial killers, you know, in their neighborhood. He was just such a nice guy, you know. And but if the neighbor had really paid attention, there were probably signs all along.
Yes. And then back to the substance abuse thing in Gastonia, as someone who has worked in that town for 8 years just on third shift, it's a big issue out there. There are people who will lay out on the front of the stores gone out of their mind. They can't speak English anymore. They can't speak any language. It's just mumbles, and they'll literally lay there almost naked on the ground. And I'm talking about one person in particular who's I'm not going to name, but even the cops don't like dealing with some of them because they're worried a lot of these people are carrying diseases. It there it presents ulterior problems once you've ended up in the streets and addicted.
I think that going back to what Rusty was saying about your neighbors as well, um, I feel like there's such a lack of a community in certain parts of, like, the world, but I really do see this a lot in the United States, and I just feel like we have such a lack of a community, because to me, if I saw my neighbor who had a dog and their dog was outside all the time, not really being brought inside, my first instinct would to be go over and check on my neighbor to make sure they're okay, because I feel like we are so afraid of interacting with people in our community because we don't know them, they're strangers, that we don't even try. But say, like, one of their neighbors maybe could have gone up to the person who owned Bentley and been like, "Hey, are you doing okay? Do you need help? I can walk your dog for you." You know, if we did more community-based mutual aid, I think that these issues would be not 100% relieved, but I think that they'd be helped.
But everybody's inside it on their phone
Mhm.
Yeah.
watching everything, watching WNN.
Yeah.
Got their head in their phone watching. But no, that's true. We need to take care of each other in each community. Moving on now to the city of Cherryville, some things that's been happening in the city of Cherryville, and one was the cluster home denial, I guess you could
Mhm.
say, of basically denying 100 homes and knocking it down back to 70 something homes,
Yeah.
and so something around there.
Around
But
there.
this was the first zoning request that's been denied in a long time,
Mhm.
and so that was interesting.
It was. It was nice to see them up there discussing why it may or may not be a good idea, and I was happy to see the council having dissenting opinions across the board. It's good to know that they are up there thinking extremely hard about the decisions that are coming up. And with that, the I am kind of sad of the I am kind of sad how the new plan is going to go for the Terrace Estates development, just because they are removing some of the beautification and uh, tree line features because the housing is going to take up more space now. But
If they proceed.
if they
Potentially.
proceed,
Yeah. Because they presented the plan, for the 70 around 70 74 home, like, cluster development. They presented that, and with that plan, it's using the plots as they are zoned currently. So that is R12. Um, the 100 home cluster would have been R9. But they do still have the option, if they would like to draft new plans and present new plans for rezoning. It's still kind of up in the air what the developers are going to decide to do with this situation. They have the right to go ahead and just start building for the
hmm
R12 ones because there would be no rezoning required for that. Um, I guess it'll remain to be seen because the city council did have a couple other options for rezoning. The developers just didn't necessarily present those to them as what they
yes,
should do, so maybe they might draw new plans for an 8,000 square foot plot or even a 10,000 square foot plot.
because it's like Wade was saying that had they been presented with an 8,000 square foot plot, they would have maybe considered it more than the R9 housing, which is 6,000 square feet of plot.
Right, and
But I
then
think the cluster homes is kind of, the newest trend
yeah,
hmm
because they're more affordable, and
mhm,
the newer generation doesn't want a big yard. In my opinion, that was the neighborhood that should have been, done first.
Yes,
It made the most sense.
it was the smallest. It was a good testing ground. They already had good plans on how they're going to do it. I mean, not that Cherryville plans are bad, but
Yeah, that would've been a good test right there,
hmm
and but that one it's just 100 homes. These other ones are 4 to 500 homes.
yes,
So, I don't know, that one was if you look at the overall picture, that one's just a drop in the bucket,
mhm,
and so if they go back to the original plan, it's gonna take reduce all the foliage, whereas if they would've made a cluster neighborhood, they would had some foliage and a walking trail or walking path. So, I don't know, that's the city council has some tough decisions, coming up and will keep coming up.
mhm,
yes,
yeah,
And the museum board, they talked about at the last meeting, appointing some new members, and I think Brian Dalton stated they had 15,
yes.
at least 15, and so they'll be discussing that coming up at the next work session. So that's interesting to have. And what I'm excited about is you had 15 people to apply for a non-paying board.
hmm
That's probably been the most applicants they've had for any board in Cherryville.
I think that
Yeah.
what we've been talking about a lot recently with the museum situation, bringing the community closer together as a whole, but also, like, letting people know that the museum is here and now it is here to stay officially, and so people are getting more encouraged to participate and volunteer for it, and I think that that's awesome. Sometimes you need a glimpse of to look at what losing something would mean to get people encouraged to participate and get involved.
Yeah, and that back wall, I was up there a couple weeks ago, and the city needs to get to work on that building because the back wall, the water is moisture seeping through, and it needs some attention. It really does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see who all applies for the position and, how the city council chooses to go about appointing who will be in the positions. We saw a couple of the names, and there's some good contenders.
Yeah, in my opinion, of course, this is more of a opinion style show. I do not think they should appoint anybody that's been on the board in the last 10 years. Because if you've been on that board in the last 10 years, you were not effective. So, maybe you can volunteer all you want, but let's get some new blood in there. And then some of the other ones that's been on it in the past, maybe you can apply. But I think if you've been on the board in the past 10 years, it didn't work so well.
Yeah.
So let's try some new blood.
And then also, sort of on that point, like we were discussing earlier, I hope to see that anyone who doesn't make the board who has applied, I really hope to see you guys volunteering because I know you care about it.
Mhm.
So don't give up if you don't make a position. Just continue to help anyway. It can always use it.
But it's been good for the museum. It's been good for the city of Cherryville, actually, even though there was some contention there. It's actually, I think, got people talking about Cherryville and the
Hmm.
history of Cherryville more. It really did.
Yeah, 100%.
And on to sewer leaks. That was a story that we ran, and there was actually sewage running into a creek in the Westgate neighborhood
Yes, there
there.
was.
And we reported on that and all the goodness and the smells and all it. But what was, the city did a great job. The city came out within 3 hours, they had it fixed. I commend the city for doing that. Great job.
Mhm.
But what was weird is how the state reports it and how entities report it. I know it had been running 4 or 5 days, and how the state looks at it, you can release 200,000 gallons of sewage, but from the time an official sees it till the time they get it stopped, that's what they record.
Yes.
So you have millions of gallons spilled, but if they stopped it within 500 gallons, that's what they report. That's how that works.
Hmm. Which was kind of shocking to learn because none of us knew that until we started doing the reporting on this one.
Mason and I were sitting there trying to calculate the circumference of the leak of, like, the pipe that the leak was coming through and trying to get an accurate but also approximate estimation of how long it had been flowing, how fast it had been flowing to try and do the math to determine how many approximate gallons could have leaked into the creek. It was impossible, like, we couldn't do it. And so when the state had reported it, it was really interesting to see that they reported under 1,000 gallons had been spilled, even though the leak had been going on for quite a few days. But it when we figured out that they only report it based on when the leak is found by officials to when it is closed by officials, that made sense. Um, but I guess the moral of the story is if you don't want sewage to be leaking into your local tributaries or creeks for multiple times, or for multiple days, the first thing you should do when you smell sewage is call. Because even if there isn't a sewage leak and it's just smelling like sulfur for no reason, I don't know why it would, but it's better to be on the safe side than the sorry side. So if you smell anything or have any suspicions that there could be a sewage leak, call immediately so they can at least go and get it checked out. That's what they're paid to do, and it's no inconvenience for them to even go and check things out to make sure everything's okay.
And then the people that you're looking to call for that are either your city's water and sewage director or the water and sewage superintendent for, is it county or state level at that point?
It's city. I
It's
mean,
city.
if you pay city taxes, you just
Yeah.
call whatever city you're in. And
Yes.
then if you happen to have county sewer, you'd call the county.
Mhm.
So basically, whoever you're paying on your bill is who you would call.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe they got the right location. The state had it wrong on Hick
Yes.
Street. It was still wrong last week. And I
It's
don't, it was 800 gallon spill on Hick Street, and you're a half mile off.
Yeah.
So, so how
that didn't
accurate,
happen.
so how accurate is the map? I don't know.
Yeah, I had emailed them and said, "I'm not sure if the location is correct on your map on the website because The leak was off of West Carroll Street. I never got a response, but maybe they fixed it. We can check.
I thought you did get a response and they thanked you for noting that was wrong and they said they were going to fix it.
Yeah, they did, but they haven't. It takes time. Just give it time.
Bureaucracy. What can you say?
Just give it time.
Yeah.
But no, the city did a great job. Got out there quick, understand these roots and stuff and debris. And that's one thing. They had a smoke test by the state,
Mm-hmm.
and they were putting smoke down in the pipes to figure out where there is leaks, because every time it rains hard, there's rainwater getting into the sewer system. And
Mm-hmm.
every time it rains hard, that rainwater is spewing out. And so basically, every time it rains hard, you have a sewer leak. And how many thousands of gallons of sewers going out wherever, who knows? So hopefully they'll get that fixed. Well, let's see. We're moving out of Cherryville now, and well, we're still in Cherryville because we had 2 churches for the night to shine
Yes, we
Mhm.
did.
at Anthony Grove and the Westminster Church in Gastonia.
Yes.
Southminster, yes.
Southminster, yeah. But Jermaine and I did that last year. We shot that, and then you went this year to interview some people. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was really awesome. Because we interviewed both the coordinators for Cherryville's Night to Shine and Gastonia's Night to Shine, and those are the 2, to our knowledge, only Night to Shine events in Gaston County. And what Night to Shine is it's put on by the Tim Tebow Foundation, and it's basically where a bunch of churches and volunteers get together to create a prom night for people who are uniquely abled or who have, special needs. They put on these events to give them an opportunity to go to prom, because a lot of uniquely abled people maybe don't get the opportunity to go to prom. And it's a really, really awesome night, all catered around helping uplift and empower people who might not get traditional American high school experiences. And it was really heartwarming to hear a lot about the stories and about the ways that this event has impacted people in our community. I know that when we were interviewing the people at Anthony Grove, they were saying they had some people who would be attending the event who wake up every day asking, "Is it night to shine day yet? Like, is it time for prom yet?" Getting to see how excited people can get to get dressed up and be treated like movie stars and singers for a day, like walking the red carpet. It was really heartwarming.
And for me personally, it's always good to see the good old Burns 2013 class out there doing community involvement and being supportive.
I think the volunteers get as much out of it as the participants, I think.
Yeah.
And it's such a great event. I enjoyed going last year. And it is a Christian based by Tim Tebow. It's a Christian based event. Um, but they might want to look about. I don't know if you have to have it in a church, but it would be cool if it was a community event too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think some people think that it's just the only people that can help is just from the church
Yeah.
itself. But it could be more of a community event too.
It'd be really good once Cherryville's new gym is done if they could host it in there and get the YMCA involved with it too. And
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Be really cool.
Yeah. Also in Cherryville, we had Adam and Eve is coming to Cherryville, and that is not the store.
No.
That is a play that they had at Lutheran Church.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you guys covered that, and very interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. A dinner and a show.
The Diaries of Adam and Eve, which is a play that was adapted from 2 short stories by Mark Twain. And we got to interview Jeremy.
Yes.
We got to interview Jeremy Holmesley about it. He directed the show, and he's done this show for years. The first time he ever acted in it was in 2016, and he loved the show. He thought it was a very nice, comedic, but also impactful show to put on, and, the story behind it is really nice. Mark Twain wrote the story for Adam 20 years before he wrote the story for Eve, and what inspired him to write the story for Eve was actually the passing of his wife. And I just thought it was a really unique twist on the creation story because it gives a little bit more insight and reasons why Adam and Eve did the things that they did in creation. And obviously we don't know, we weren't there, but it's nice to see people thinking about what life could have been like and what their decisions could have been back in the day.
Yeah, and speaking of plays, the Cherryville Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to say something about the Adam and Eve, or do you want to move on?
We can go Bright Star.
Okay. Bright Star is a play coming to Cherryville. And by the time this is out, it's Bright Star had been out. So we're not live. And that's another thing. Would you guys like to see us live or recorded? Just let us know in the comments below if you want to see a live version of us, or would you like it taped? Just because we actually record this and then put it out a few days later. So if you want it live, just say, yeah, I'd like to see you live. But if we do it live, would it be better in the mornings, afternoons, evenings, that sort of thing?
Yes. Like Rusty's saying, if you do have a preferred time for watching us doing live content, include that in your comment or email to us, because if we, do it at 10 a.m., how many people are going to be at work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going to do it at 10 o'clock at night when everybody's on their phones or watching their screens? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, the Cherryville Theater, and Grace, you interviewed Wade Strapp, and they're really revamping the little theater.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. This Bright Star play that's Rusty, you're actually attending tonight, and today is Friday, February 23rd, if you're wondering when we're shooting this. It seems like a really cool play as well. And I'm just happy to see so many arts initiatives happening in the city of Cherryville because I think that arts are super important. And one cool thing about Bright Star is that it's not only utilizing local talent for the actors and the directors, but it's also utilizing local musicians because Bright Star is a play that is very bluegrass heavy. It's a musical, and they're using actual bluegrass musicians from Cherryville for the play. And we all know that Cherryville has a very deep connection to bluegrass with Darren and Brooke Aldridge and Earl Scruggs coming from the area. So,
And didn't Steve Martin write it?
Mm-hmm.
yes, yeah.
Because he's a banjo player.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, a pretty exciting thing for the Cherryville Little Theater is this is the first. It's not the first time they've had musical accompaniment, but it is the first time they've had a full band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a picture, and it looks like more of a bluegrass style band.
Yeah.
It is.
So it should be interesting. And they've got plenty of shows coming up.
Yeah. And they do a lot of they do summer camps, and they do a lot of like community engagement for kids and teenagers. If you are looking to get involved in the arts and you don't know where to begin, like that's a really great place to start because you get lessons too.
The two camps this summer, the first one is going to be a writing camp, which is obviously what it entails, where you sit down and create your own play. And I think they get to do a little bit of it.
They do. They perform the plays. It's a 2-week camp. The first week is all about writing the play, and then the second week is all about practicing and performing the play. And that's the writing camp, but they also do just a strictly acting-based camp as well. And that is exactly kind of what it sounds like. You get a play to put on, practice it for 2 weeks, and then you put it on.
Yep. And then I alluded to this in our short, but if you want to try out acting, or you want to be on stage, or if you want to be backstage, this summer, what's coming up is the Little Mermaid play. It's the full version of the production too. So they're going all out. So yeah, if you want to reach out and try acting or just help out at the little theater, check out their website or go look at our articles or content surrounding that, and you can figure out the way to apply yourself.
Yeah. As a former theater kid, I can say that any kind of these arts initiatives, whether it's the Diaries of Adam and Eve or Bright Star, they really, really appreciate community support. And so if you're interested, definitely go out and support your local actors and players.
And then one thing I didn't realize, and I'm already blanking on her name, but the person playing the lead in Bright Star is one of my friends. I went to Gardner Webb with her.
Y'all must be really good friends since you forgot her name.
Okay, you're just digging yourself a deeper hole here.
Shh.
Watch our segment, and Mason's going to go back and watch the segment to see who he's talking about.
If I had my phone, I could figure it out.
Okay. You're in the dark. Just like yesterday, I'll speak about it now, the SOS problem with the phones. Yeah. We have 3 or 4 avenues to get out and search the World Wide Web, and So we used about all of them yesterday, and we were able to operate. It was interesting. So, we got by. Yeah, but
Yeah.
think about that. If you lose internet, you're down for the count.
Yeah.
Banks, everything's down.
It was honestly kinda scary, um, 'cause our internet was down and y'all's phone service was down, and
Mhm.
so it was really kinda weird to be disconnected from the world in that way, like, if this was happening for a big reason, like, we had no idea because we couldn't log on to the internet, I don't know, and
And AT&T still hasn't really said what happened.
yeah, they say that it wasn't nefarious and that it was probably just, like, maintenance issues gone wrong, but I felt pretty unsettled with the whole thing just being detached, which is then like, maybe we all need to unplug a little bit because why are we getting so anxious about our phones not working for a couple hours?
Well, I mean, if you're living paycheck by paycheck and you're dependent on a direct deposit, don't live paycheck by paycheck because there's no guarantee that that money's gonna hit the bank. Because if a
Mhm.
bank has internet problems, it can't work, and so glitches happen.
Yes. And then it wasn't just AT&T. Our company internet went down. Eh
Yes, AT&T, Spectrum, I mean, all the carriers had
Mhm.
problems
Yes.
because cell service works off internet,
Mhm.
Yes.
and they all feed off each other too.
Yes.
Because when you go to roaming on your phone, you're actually using another carrier.
You remember how our mobile router yesterday said it was doing, like, 40 megabits up?
Yeah.
It doesn't do that with all the traffic restored. I checked this morning. It's back down to, like, 5 megabits a second.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, it's crazy how much data we're pushing now,
mhm.
and now you buy phones with terabytes,
Yes.
and it used to be megabytes and gigabytes, and now we're in
Mhm.
terabytes.
Wow.
The world we live in.
Mhm.
Um, Still in Cherryville, we have a new recreation director, Lance Hudson,
Mhm.
and, we brought him in. He, talked a little bit about new initiatives and, maybe what all they're planning on doing. I know they've got a new gym, so Lance, came in and talked about that. Cheryl's taken back over their recreation department.
Yes. Which, in case you're unaware, they actually have broke ground on the splash pad now. That's coming, and for the next couple of months, they should be done with it.
Yeah, and apparently it's gonna be absolutely the best splash pad in the state. We heard at the last city council meeting that it's baseball themed and that they're actually painting, like, a baseball diamond into the floor, which
Mhm.
is cool because you'll get to see all of the kids running around in the water and pretending that they're playing baseball, and it's pretty cool, and I think Lance is really excited about having this position. He was actually the part-time recreational director for Cherryville back in the '90s, took a little hiatus to be the athletic director for Gaston County Schools and to do a couple other things that are related to recreation. So you can really tell that he's passionate about getting people outside, whether that's through sports or even just engaging in local community parks. And his first week on the job, he went around to all of the parks and kind of assessed what they would need to do in the future to help spruce them up a little bit. And I know Westgate Park, we recently did a story about that a couple months ago, so it wasn't recently, but the renovations to that were pretty good, and
Mhm.
hopefully with Lance in the seat, he will take charge and get some other cool renovations done to other parks in the area.
Yep.
Splash pads. That's the latest, greatest. It's funny, all these towns, they have something, and like they have something, we have to have it, and they're all in competition, like, who's gonna have the best splash pad?
I'm just gonna have to say it. Cherville didn't have enough foresight. We could have combined the splash pad and the pickleball court and one up to everyone.
Splash ball.
That's just more trips to the hospital. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Also, just while we're on the topic, in case you don't know where the splash pad is going, it's going beside the city pool,
Mhm.
which is over near the baseball
And they're
fields.
gonna have a fence between the 2.
Yes.
Yeah, that
So the
is
kids don't go in the pool, which they probably will, unless they put a very high
Yes.
fence.
that's something we talked about. I used to be a swimmer and a lifeguard, so seeing kids running on, like, wet surfaces or, like, around pools, I always get a little bit on edge about that, but it's important to make sure the kids don't go messing around in the pool when they should just be at the splash pad. So hopefully the fence is high.
But this is gonna
Yes.
be kinda like an amusement park type splash pad. But
Mhm.
a lot of cities have little splash pads on the corner of a street just for the kids to cool off and stuff. So it's usually this, the water jet spewing up, not the buckets falling on you and stuff.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
anyways, it'll be cool. It'll be cool. I'm sure it'll stay packed when it's nice weather.
Oh, yeah.
If there's no kids there, you'll find me frolicking. I love splash pads. They're so fun.
Um, Shifted gears a little bit, went to Lincoln County for Project Cinderella,
Mhm.
and we've been in 3 counties in the past couple weeks:
Yes, we have.
Cleveland, Gaston, and Lincoln.
And Rutherford if you wanna
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Rutherford,
Grace drove out to Rutherford, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
busy week or month for us here at WNN, but Project Cinderella was really cool. It's another prom-styled or prom-inspired event, and it's put on by a student-led club out of Lincoln Charter School in Denver, and it's basically just a bunch of students who got together and decided to open up a dress donation club where people can donate their old prom dresses or formal attire, shoes, accessories to this club. And then what the club does with these outfits is they will put on kind of like a dress boutique where they will give formal attire to people in need of dresses or shoes or accessories so that everyone can be able to go to prom. Because prom is a really, really expensive event. I know some people who spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, maybe even like up to
Well, what
1,000.
about the males, the men?
You know what? I was actually thinking about asking about that while we were there. I didn't, and
I
mm.
feel discriminated.
I actually thought about that too, Rusty, the
Well,
other
people
day.
don't buy tuxes, though.
Yes.
Now if you bought a tux, you could repurpose it, but,
Yeah,
most males are renting tuxes.
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm just picking, but that's
I honestly, though, I think it's a good because one thing that they did drive home is how important inclusivity matters to them with this. Like, they have dresses of all different kinds of sizes. They mentioned that they work hand in hand with the Special Olympics of Lincoln County, and the Special Olympics puts on an event, which is also prom-styled, where they'll kinda throw a prom event for participants for the Special Olympics, and they work hand in hand with them that or at least they are this year, to make sure that there's dresses for all body types, which is really cool, but it would be awesome to see some
well, maybe
suits
they could get a
included.
tux shop to donate used tux, and that
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
the males could
Yeah.
benefit from that.
And then even like you're saying, most males do rent a tux, but the part they're not renting are their shoes. So there'll be more shoes that could be collected for men than
Mhm.
Yeah,
there
but
will be tuxes.
tennis shoes are in now, though.
True. Wear your sneakers with your prom dress, or
I've seen it.
I think
I've seen it on
that
TV, so it's true.
Mhm.
I think that a big thing with them is that they try to get involved with local businesses too. So they do a lot of community outreach, get a lot of support from their community. So if there was like a tux rental in the area, maybe in the future they could collaborate with them and get some suits in there for the boys, because everyone deserves to go to prom and feel like royalty for a day. And going back to Night to Shine, it's yeah, going back to Night to Shine, it's definitely important to make sure everyone's included.
Mhm.
I blanked for a second and like
Yeah.
yeah.
I was getting ready to bring up the Night to Shine because it's a prom event too, and
Yeah.
those 2 can intertwine also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next, you went out and talked about gun safety.
Yes, I went out to go meet with Centurion Concepts owners, Steve and Scott Norton. They founded the organization. It's actually Centurion Concepts NC. If you look up Centurion Concepts, you're actually going to find quite a few different companies, but if you put that NC behind it, you're going to find them. They run most of their programs out of the Foothills Shooting Range in Shelby, which actually technically is a Cherryville address. I did not know that until I looked it up.
Other side of Waco, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's weird that's a Cherryville address. But so a little bit of what they do is they offer, firstly, personal civilian safety courses. They have 3 phases of that. The first one begins after you get your concealed carry permit. And then it goes on to be just a basic safety course for new owners, or maybe people who are just trying to brush up. Then the second course is a little bit more intense. has a virtual target practice range to help you get used to if you were in a situation where maybe there's an active shooter or just you needed to actually handle a gun for self-defense, get you a little bit more trained for that. And then it goes on to a statistic that Scott brought up, which is that 40% of gun crimes happen at night, so you're more likely to need to defend yourself then. So the last thing they offer, phase 3 of the civilian course, is nighttime. It happens at night and it's flashlight training because, as Scott said, you'll meet many a gun owner, and if you ask them if they've ever trained with a gun with a flashlight on it, they'll tell you no because it's not something that occurs to most people.
Yeah, and they also train churches
Yes.
for shootings and for safety and safety
Hmm.
teams and that sort of thing.
Yes, they have a specific program for uh, greeters, taking church greeters and making them what they call church guardians. So basically, they take these people. Not only do they put them through the civilian course, they also give them a little bit of training on just like keeping an eye out on, not gonna say profiling people, but just being acutely aware of like, hey, that person kind of looks like they're different. They've not been here before. They look like they might be wanting to cause trouble. Keep an eye on them. Just keep everyone safe. That way, no one goes to a house of worship and is harmed for it. It's not a thing that should happen, but it does. Then the other thing they offer is they'll come out to your businesses and they'll go through, they'll do active shooter drills. That's one part of that. Another thing they'll do is they'll come out, they'll survey the property. They'll tell you maybe some things that you could change about traffic flow and stuff just to make the property generally safer and from someone wanting to do harm to it, whether it be shooting, theft, or any of the other n- negative things that could happen to a business. They will go and talk with you about how to try and prevent that organically.
I know, speaking of gun safety, we did have a shooting in Cherryville, North Carolina,
Yes.
by an officer. Individual was killed during a situation, and back to the drug
Hmm.
situation. I think it was an individual that was maybe out of his mind or whatever. We don't really know, but the SBI is still investigating that, and they have not released the final findings of that situation. So everybody will be in our thoughts about that
Hmm.
situation. But America has the most guns of any nation in the world, and we have social media, and we have a whole lot more stuff going on in today's world with the drugs and the homeless, and just a lot of social media now. Even though we are part of social media, is social media actually good or bad? Well, that's where a lot of people get their bad ideas,
Hmm.
and young people, they get bullied on social media. And I know we're talking about guns, but a lot of the mass shootings involve people getting ideas from social media or organizations, or hate crimes and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it does. And it ties back to, like you're saying, the bullying and stuff. Not only do you see that on social media, the other thing that you see is people putting forth the perfect version of their life. So not only you're going on there, you're seeing news from organizations that maybe not only you're going and seeing potentially negative news and all of the crazy happenings of the world right now, it's in this weird conjunction with like, look at how perfect everyone's life is. And you see that, and maybe you're getting bullied, you're younger, and you think, why am I the only one who feels like this? When in reality, you probably aren't really that singled out. It's just everyone's presenting an extreme on social media, whether it's positive or negative.
I think that, yeah, going to the extreme, we are a social media based news organization. And I think that social media can be extremely positive for certain reasons because, you get to connect with people all over the world. we get to see so many different ways of life from so many different kinds of people, and I think that that is super cool. And as a social media-based news organization, I think social media is really awesome because we get to put out our content and we get to tell stories that might not be told by mainstream news organizations. And I think that that's awesome. I think that there's also a lot of really good examples of something I'll call like guerrilla journalism right now, where people who are experiencing really high intensity and stressful, violent situations, they're able to report about what is happening to them themselves. Like, there are people in the Congo who are reporting on the child labor in cobalt mines, all with their phone, posting videos on TikTok. That has never been able to be done before. There are people in Gaza who are doing the same, reporting on the bombings and the mass civilian casualties with their phone. That has never been able to be done before. And so for that, it's really good. But also at the same time, with everyone being so interconnected, it's almost like a double negative. You're so connected that it's made you isolated because now more than ever before, with influencers pushing products, I mean, like, I go on my TikTok and every single thing I see is an ad about how to lose weight, how to change the shape of your face, things that you can do to your hair to make your hair look healthier. We're constantly being told that we are not good enough and that there are people who look better than us and who are better than us. And so we should all strive to be like them. But to be like them, you also have to have money. I think that everything is like interconnected. It's like classism, it's racism, it's sexism. It's basically every ism you can think of all combined together is the reason why we are having these issues in our country, because I think that all disparity is connected. We were talking about homelessness and we were talking about animal welfare, and now we're talking about shootings, and it makes a triangle, and in the middle of the triangle is the biggest problem, which is that I honestly think we're not there for our community enough. And I think that if we were, and we put together more like community-based mutual aid like we were discussing earlier, I don't think we would see as many mass shootings. We're all so alone that we feel like we're the only people who experience this, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
But kids are under so much pressure today. Influencer, young kids are taught to be influencers now. And there's so much pressure to stand out or be like everyone else, but not everyone can afford social media. Not everyone has smartphones. I mean, not all kids have the same, resources.
Mm-hmm.
So we're putting so much pressure on our kids to do all this stuff, and they get bullied, and then we have mass shootings in schools. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing it to ourselves.
Yes.
I think it's also really important to mention that a lot of these mass shootings that happen are directly targeted towards people who of like various demographics. Like, a lot of these shooters will make manifestos about the specific kinds of people and the specific reasons why they are engaging in making a mass shooting. And a lot of times those manifestos highlight, you know, hatred towards a specific demographic. And I think that it's a lot easier to manipulate someone into becoming radicalized if they are isolated and if they aren't with the in crowd. And social media, like we've been saying, is a really good, like, not good, but it is a way in which your insecurities get highlighted more. And so it makes you feel so isolated. And then it puts you in a position where you start disliking and even hating people who are different than you.
Yeah, it just puts a lot of pressure on everyone. So are we better off with or without social media? I like internet, I like websites, but social media can be a bad thing. It can be good,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be bad, and it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on kids
Yes.
and adults also, but especially the younger generation.
Yeah, I think that there definitely need to be more like regulations towards age restriction for sure, because it really does a number on someone's self esteem.
Mine's convinced that as soon as he turns 13 and meets those YouTube guidelines that he's doing what I'm doing. And he's got a different thing coming for him, but
Sorry, patty cakes, not your
Well,
time.
a lot of people have cell phones, and like George Floyd situation, if that would have happened 50 years ago, without footage, that would have been swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
And so social media and phones have a good side,
Yes.
but with like everything else, it could have a bad side.
Yes.
So
Moderation, that's what's important, and I also cannot stress enough how much we need to have each other's backs because at the end of the day, like, your community is really all you have, whether that community is yourself, your family, and your friends. I think maybe expanding that and including your neighbors and
Mm-hmm.
your city, your town, I think that that would really help make people feel less alone.
but get to the root of the problem. We're the nation with the most guns. We're probably a nation with the most cell phones. I'm not sure about that, but and computers. So it's a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the number one drug companies in the world that's feeding us all these drugs. So you got drugs, phones, and guns, and it's a perfect recipe for problems.
We don't have time to talk about that.
I know we'll go down another in the food we eat and all that, and Rusty's guide to losing weight is duct tape over the mouth. So if you want to lose weight, put duct tape over your mouth and you won't eat. Just put less in your mouth and you burn off and you'll lose weight. There you go. Anyway, I thought I'd throw that in. Moving right along. Anyway, that's gun safety, a very good piece. If you haven't seen our piece on the gun safety, watch it. It'll be good, especially in crowds and in churches and that sort of thing.
Yes.
We're not advocating guns, but if you have one or you think you need one, then that's the segment to watch.
Yes. Good owner is a responsible owner.
Correct.
Treat every gun like it's loaded.
And let's see, moving on. I guess I'll throw Piedmont Lithium in here because their stock is still around $12 a share. And, their stock is down, but EV sales are down.
Yes.
So that whole industry is down right now. And whether it stays down, who knows? But we'll see how that. And I bring up Piedmont Lithium because they're directly tied to our recreation in Cherryville.
Yes.
So, the city's been promised $500,000 a year once they start producing. So Cherryville's banked a lot of projects on that money.
Yes.
So all this is tied together.
Fortunately, it is because do you want a lithium mine to come to your neighborhood? Maybe, maybe not. But now some of the growth that we are going to see won't happen if Piedmont doesn't succeed.
Yeah, and a lot of it is industry and hope that things happen.
Yes.
And we'll just see how that plays out.
We'll update you guys whenever we know any more information about any of it.
Let's see, camper fire. You've got some neat
Yes.
pictures of a camper fire at Stonewood Estates, and appreciate you doing that.
I got a call at 8 o'clock that night from one of my friends saying there were fire trucks going down the road. He's like, to be quite honest, I was like, I just got my food finished. And he's like, dude, this is kind of your job. And I'm like, you're right. I'll be out there in a minute.
But no injuries, small fire is put out quick. And so just a small little camper fire outside
Yes.
the home at Stonewood Estates. And speaking of guns, the New Year's shooters, Cherryville New Year's shooters had their annual host dinner. And we were there. Grace wrote an article about that, and Mason took some pictures, and we gave out some awards. This was the first year that we have had antique gold medals, which were cool.
Yes.
And our president Charles Sisk got one. Matt Aldridge and his son Maddox got one, and then we recognized two other people with certificates of appreciation, which was Pat Sherrill and Michael Powell, the editor of the Eagle that just retired.
Yep.
Yeah. It was a really nice dinner, getting to see everyone kind of get together. And we also interviewed Jack and Judy, who are Mason's family. And it was really nice to hear their perspective about it because they're hosts. And they talked about how much the shooter's dinner means to them because they get to see old friends. Like, all of these hosts are all friends, but they're never in the same room together except for the New Year's shooter dinner. So it's kind of like a family reunion every year after everyone gets done shooting and the dinner happens. Everyone who might not see each other regularly gets to hang out, and it was really touching. And it was nice seeing everyone get awarded and recognized.
And speaking of guns, we tried to do a live at New Year's, but YouTube took it down.
Yes.
So YouTube
Yeah.
will not allow guns on live videos.
No, they won't, even if it's just a musket.
Yep. Yep. So happens every year in Cherryville, the New Year's shooters. That was a great event. Like I say, Michael Powell did retire
Mhm.
at
Yes.
the end of 2023. And Grace, you brought Michael in for an interview, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool to be able to interview Michael, especially as a young journalist like myself. In 40 years when I'm retiring, I'm gonna be in Michael's same position where I'll be kind of ready to pass the baton over to the next upcoming journalist in whatever area I'm in. And he had a lot of really great things to say. He gave me a lot of great insight about what it really means to be a journalist and like the power that we have because not only is our job to report facts and accurate stories as they come, but our job is also to determine how we should report those stories. I love what he said about journalists being wordsmiths because sometimes it's not even the story itself, but the way that you report it. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. We have an ethical obligation to be factual, accurate, but also to like do no harm. I like to say that journalists and doctors really aren't all that different. We're all very smart and we all have to abide by a strict ethical code of not putting anything out that will do harm. And I think Michael definitely understands that. He understands objectivity. We talked about the museum situation and about how him on a personal level, he didn't agree with the sale, but he couldn't let that interject and interfere with the stories that he was putting out about it. Um, so it was a really great conversation. And I think that I'm going to carry what he told me about the industry for a long time. And, I'm proud to have known him. I know that you guys have known him longer. So you've seen his impact in the community a lot longer than I have.
Yeah, he's done a great job. I feel like he was handcuffed at times because one thing with media is sometimes you can't report on stuff, especially if it may affect an advertiser or a sponsor. And I hope WNN never gets to that point to where we can't run a story because of a sponsor or the money may get cut off.
Yes.
And I'll tell you a little example of how, not getting off subject, but how media and the mass media and all that kind of works together is I got a bill from a CBS affiliate in Texas. So I called, the people we deal with at CBS in Charlotte, said, "Hey, this bill's not for us." And they said, "Okay, we'll look into it." Well, it was actually an NBC affiliate and that organization that owns both of them, a
Mm-hmm.
CBS and an NBC station. So back to the media, mass media, a lot of the stations are owned by the same person.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's CBS, NBC, or whoever, they're the same company.
Yes.
So when you see a script that somebody might be saying in California and they say the same thing in North Carolina, it's because it's the same company.
Yes.
But it could be CBS, NBC, ABC, whoever.
And it happens across the board in media. The music industry is controlled mostly by 3 different large record labels that incorporate all the other smaller ones. And then you go over to the radio industry, and I think it's something like 70% of stations are owned by iHeartMedia, which used to be Clear Channel until they rebranded because they got in trouble back in the 90s. Um, it's like that across the board with media. And that's why I like seeing independent, small, local things like what we're doing.
I think it's even like that without media too, because in college, in media ethics classes that I took, we learned about how even the food industry is like that. The food brands that you buy that look different because of
Mhm.
different packaging. I mean, they're same company that owns them all, same ingredients. Like, there's a lot of overlap in everything. Drug company too. Like, we go on tangents about that a lot, but
Disney.
yeah, everything's connected.
but Michael gave us some good insights on his history of media, and
Yeah.
he was in a rock band, Christian rock band, and if you haven't seen it, it should be coming out today, which we're taping this on a Friday,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and so it will be out by the time you see us. His segment will be out. So if you see any of our segments, give us a shout out, a like, comment on our segments below. We really appreciate that. We really do. If you have any ideas, shoot it to us. We're thinking about doing this segment live, Who Gives a Hoot live. So if you would like to see it live, let us know. Put it in the comments below. Would you like to see it live in the morning, afternoon, night? Or is it okay that we tape these and show them to you? Let us know.
Definitely do. And does that mean we're getting on to telling where to find us, Rusty?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, as I say, almost every video, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and if you're just not a fan of the other social medias, you can find us on LinkedIn as well. But be sure to check out our website, which is wisenewsnetwork.com, to read all of Grace's articles. She does a wonderful job, and they go out pretty much daily lately.
Yeah, we've been busy, but we like being busy. So keep sending us tips as well, please. You can send those to our email address, newsdesk@wisenewsnetwork.com, or we have pitching or tip forms as well, where those will be in the description box below. We have one for Cherryville, and then we have one for news stories as well. And we do really appreciate y'all sending us some tips so that we can get you the news that you want to see.
And we are paying attention to our comments. I know we don't reply to absolutely everyone, especially whenever you guys get heated down below something we post, but we are paying attention. So if you do put something in our comments that's a tip or something that you would suggest us go cover, we're going to see it. So don't feel like we're not watching. We are.
Yeah, and be nice in the comments.
As nice as you can be. It's good that people engage. We like engagement. And if you got what you like about us, what you don't like about our segments, just let us know. You know, if we can do a better job, let us know.
Yes.
We try to stay unbiased, and as long as we can, we're going to keep going. And you know, we may start advertising. You may see some advertisements on our website, stuff like that. But I never want to get handcuffed to where we can't
Mhm.
tell the truth. And so hopefully we'll be unbiased, truthful news source for a long time.
Hopefully.
Well, that about wrap it up. It's been a lengthy one.
Yes, it has.
So I'm Rusty Wise.
I'm Mason Beam.
And I'm Grace Smith.
And from the Wise News Network studios for Who Gives a Hoot number 9, we'll see you next time. Have a great day.